guys, and welcome back to Move Plus. Hope you're having an awesome day so far. So with the warm-up, guys, what we're going to see is 1 minute of cardio of your choice. So you can pick what you want, be a little bit creative. What we're going to do is just go with some regular skips. We'll also probably mix in some double unders as well. Okay, so that sort of thing. We do that for the first minute. From there, the next 4 minutes are going to look like this. Minute 1 is going to be 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other side of a single arm press. So that is going from shoulder to overhead. You do 30 on one side, 30 on the other. The next minute is going to be 45 seconds on, 15 seconds off of a single dumbbell goblet squat. So that's holding in the front rack position there, squatting down. And we would just alternate between those 2 minutes. So press, squat, press, and squat. That makes up that remaining 4 minute block there. Em, you good to go? All right, so starting in 10 seconds, we've got our minute of cardio. You guys can pick what you want to do here. Jumping jacks, running, anything like that's cool. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So if you are skipping like Em is, guys, what we want to do is try to get into a nice rhythm early. So listening to the sound of the rope, listening to the sound of our feet hitting the ground. Can be a good idea if you're doing this at home, guys, have the volume turned down on music or listening to me, that sort of thing, so that you can actually hear yourself skipping. Find that nice rhythmic pattern. We also want to look at body positioning, so nice and upright, little bit of bend at knees and hips, but not much. We're trying to stay pretty well vertical, and we're going to try and keep everything fairly narrow too, so making sure the arms don't reach out into giant big circles out wide. So just moving through this minute. Remember, once we get to the end of this, we've got that 4 minute block of those 2 alternating minutes, so presses and goblet squats. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So moving to the presses now, so single dumbbell or kettlebell, whatever you have at home. 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other. So looking at going from that front rack position with the arm and the hand and the dumbbell in a nice neutral spot, so it's in front of the shoulder versus outside of the shoulder. Pressing up to a full lockout, so we should be able to see your head just kind of poke through at the top there to establish that nice lockout. 3, 2, 1, and switching sides. So this is a strict press, guys, so we're going to see the rest of the body staying completely still. So that means knees are locked out, hips are staying still, we're not leaning or dip driving, anything like that. So in a moment, we're going to move to the goblet squat. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and switching. So stance goes out a little wider now. We're going 45 seconds on, 15 seconds off. And you can see that the knees and the feet are going to have very similar line, right? So wherever my toes point, my knees point as well. So they're kind of fanned out. That just allows us to open the hips up at a better angle to get some more depth. Stops us from kind of tucking that butt underneath or curling our back over. It allows us to keep that spine nice and straight. So we've got 15 more seconds. You want to make sure that that rack position is strong. So we're trying to get the arms kind of in narrow, sort of cupping that top end of the dumbbell there. If you're using a kettlebell, you can just have it inverted. Grab onto the round part of the bell. And resting. So we're going to circle back to the presses for the next minute, guys. So 10 more seconds rest, then we'll hit that up. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now, important to check in with this, guys, because this is a single-sided movement. The tendency is that we might start to kind of move the torso with that weight. It might start sort of dragging that shoulder down. So be conscious of your belly, be conscious of your hips, trying to keep everything nice and level. So shoulders and hips should look like 2 sort of parallel lines across, nice and squared up. If you find that you're sort of slouching and then reaching and your spine's changing position as you go, we're going to try and avoid that as best we can. Switching sides. Now, one thing you might not be able to see with Em here, because it's sort of a smaller detail, but her wrist position. She's not allowing that dumbbell to crank her wrist back on sort of a right angle. She's actually staying in a closed fist, like she's punching through the dumbbell. That's just going to stack that weight nicely over the bones in her arm and her wrist there, so it stays strong. We don't want to be kind of straining and hanging from the tissues in the wrist there. 3, 2, 1, and goblet squat. Now, good idea, guys, any squat we do, whether it's in a warm-up, whether it's a heavy squat, whether it's a high rep squat, pay attention to what's happening at the feet. If you find that your heels feel kind of soft on the ground, they're kind of bobbling along or kind of rounding inwards, try to drive a lot more force down through there. I want to make sure that those knees are pushing out and we're finding those heels. If we are always sort of driving onto the toes, constantly sort of falling in and going forwards and inwards, it's going to load those knees in a bad way. Whereas if we sit back on those heels, we get to utilize the hips, glutes, hammies, all that sort of good stuff. And time. All right, so that is the warm-up done, guys.